Guys, we have the newest update just into us from the National Hurricane Center, and the color of Haley's dress is bright red, and we have a zone in the Atlantic where the National Hurricane Center is just highlighted in a bright red coloring, just saying that, listen, disturbance number 1 has now been elevated from a 60 to now 70, what we call a high probable chance now for development.
Yeah, you know, Michael, it was funny. I was thinking that in my head. I just didn't say it out loud. So I'm glad that we're like of the same wavelength this morning. Yeah, that is something that's been changing, at least with the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. We also got some updates in the Eastern Pacific too, so we'll kind of dive into that. But guys, I mean, I think this is expected based upon the trends we've seen in the models, the odds ticking up. Now, this time yesterday, we were at a 40-60% chance, and now we're all the way up to 70, so we're in that high category. So it does look likely that we will be talking about Gabrielle.
And our forecast models are doing a pretty good job at like zeroing in on this too.
So far, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do know, just kind of in talking to some of the meteorologists behind the scenes, they were telling me that the models have not been doing a great job at initializing storm development this year. The only one they really got right was Erin. The good news is Erin was a tropical wave, and so this being a tropical wave, maybe there are some similarities to be had. You can see the area to watch now just moving off to the west of the Cabo Verde Islands. It does have some decent convection, especially to the north. It's finding a little pocket of moist air. While there is some dry air working against it, this 70% chance and now the introduction of 10% over the next 2 days is highlighting the fact that, you know, maybe the Atlantic season isn't a total bust this year.
You know, Bayne, you were mentioning this too, and I want to make sure that we reiterate this. You mentioned it last hour before the National Hurricane Center came out with their update, just saying that there was some pockets of dry and stable air that were limiting this thing's development. But in the short term is what you were saying.
Yes. I kind of had the feeling that this was going to happen, and we were all talking about this too, that right now it's kind of in an unfavorable spot. I mean, you can see that dust twisting in that drier air, and that always likes to snuff out these systems. I like how Michael always uses that campfire analogy, where he just kind of snuffs it out when you throw dust on a campfire. It just completely kills it. Kind of happens with these systems. But to that point too, as it starts to move out of that environment, it's very favorable. I mean, hostile winds, hardly anything is out there. It just has that warm water to work with. So we were all kind of on the same page with the NHC and just kind of waiting to see if they were going to update that. And it looks like they're saying the same thing that we are.
Yeah, they're brushing its shoulders off, if you will, and brush the dust off its shoulders is what Gabrielle's going to do here soon. It's interesting because it loses the dust, and then there's a little runway, and along that runway there's plenty of moisture to fuel this thing. You look at the hostile winds upstairs, and even the hostile winds upstairs are pretty much gone at that point. So it's going to really allow this thing to ventilate from the surface all the way up to the top of the system. And I think at that point, by the time we get to Thursday and more so Friday, maybe next weekend at this time, I think we could have at least a tropical depression, if not a tropical storm on our hands.
Yeah, it's certainly possible that we will see this, and a lot of the models are pinpointing that will happen. What we do know right now is that as a broad disturbance tomorrow, continuing to make its trek further out west, it will get in the vicinity of the Lesser Antilles and of the Caribbean islands, let's say by Wednesday. Now, Wednesday is really that day one where we could be talking about a tropical storm. Now, yeah, 10% chance in the next 2 days, but really I think it's probably going to be Wednesday, Thursday, if I had to guess when this becomes Gabrielle. Now, this ridge of high pressure is really key. It's been key with all of our tropical waves that have moved off the coast of Africa. It guides them out west. But depending upon how strong this storm could get would then indicate if it gets pulled north faster or if it can stay further south. Now, all the latest model indications are highlighting that it's going to get pulled further north by this high pressure, which would then mean that, hey, maybe it is a little bit stronger by the time we get closer to this upcoming weekend. So not today, about a week from today. The good news is whether it makes a turn north or it stays a little bit further south, too close for comfort, if you will. The thing is, we're expecting to have these dips in the jet stream and these large troughs and frontal systems move off of the United States, and that would act as a nice shield for any kind of storm that would try to get close to the Atlantic coast. Basically, what would happen is if this storm at this point, more than likely Gabrielle, and it came closer and then would interact with this jet stream, it would get sheared out so quickly and it would lose its structure. And, you can't fight through those really strong winds, especially if they're from the surface all the way aloft. For the month of September, we still have a high chance at seeing more tropical waves. Now, we only have the one area to watch, but I have seen a couple model indications. Maybe we do have a couple of areas that turn into tropical waves that move off of the coast of Africa. We're still not totally primed for hurricane season quite yet, but Michael Brennan highlighting that we could be entering a La Nina by the end of September, and the MJO would be in more of an enhanced phase, helping to promote the rising air. So time is running out on hurricane season, sure, but we still have about 2 months to go, and it could be incredibly active.